let's make some dinner. We're going to pour some rice into one of our pots. Now remember, rice doubles. And then I put some homemade jerky in there. And because rice has no flavoring, but the jerky has a ton, there's a bunch of seasoning that you end up getting just from the jerky. You can take your time and cut it up in smaller pieces if you want, but it doesn't matter. Just as long as they are edible. And don't forget to pay the tax. You always have to pay the tax if you have a dog with you, because that's just the rule. So now, pour your water in. I measured using my finger to about the first digit. The second time I made this, I would actually go 1.5 digits. And then once I let it sit for a few hours and the jerky to marinate and everything, we popped it on the fire, stirred it every once in a while, and let it cook up. And all that seasoning from the jerky ended up flavoring the rice. This was probably one of the better rice meat dishes I've had, especially up in the Tulies. It was really good. I'll definitely do this again. So then I also I decided to try and see if pancake batter would actually make a roll, because it's pretty much all the same stuff. And we had some pancake batter. And so I took and just poured some out, again, not measuring. Just poured some into a pot, trying to figure out how much. And I was like, it's going to go down because you're going to turn it into a ball and add water. But I didn't want to put too much in there and then it not work either. So you want to slowly add your water, because you don't want a batter. You want a dough. So I had taken a fresh stick, took all the bark off, made a stir spoon, and then just slowly added the water until all of the dry was absorbed. Now I still have some dry in there, but it's really, really wet. And so I literally added just a couple of drops. And then you just keep stirring to incorporate it. And eventually it will form a dough. And it started all coming together and taking everything off the sides of the pan. And see, starting to form a dough. It's evening. I can't talk right now. So once I got it to that part, I took clean hands, formed it up. Wasn't really sticking to my fingers. Of course, the more you work it, the more it will stick to your fingers, so you want to be careful. And then, of course, I didn't open this prior to recording the video, so I had to do it on the fly. I put a little bit of oil on my hands and patted the dough down. So I patted the top because I didn't want it all over my pan per se. And that's just a teeny tiny little thing of, I think it's olive oil and sunflower oil, olive pomace. But any oil, tallow, whatever you have will work. And then I just tried to form it, and all I did was basically make sure there weren't any cracks or anything. And then put a lid on it. Went and washed my hands. And then I took it and I put it on hot coals, above hot coals. So I had 2 pieces of wood, as you'll see here in a minute, excuse me, above hot coals. And they're hot. So we had just boiled some water. I moved those closer together, made sure it was still nice and toasty. And I stuck it on top. Now, I will say I did end up building a little bit of a fire underneath it because this is the first time I've ever done this. Next time I'll just leave it on hot coals and allow it to cook for a while because it did burn the bottom a little, but it still came off the pan pretty darn easy. And I flipped it over and ended up cooking the other side, kind of like you would a pancake. And that was it. And it was really, really good. So, like I said, one of the better dinners, just kind of on the fly and learning. I've never cooked like this outside, so it's been fun learning. So there it is flipped, and you can see I burnt it a little bit, but it was still delicious. And there's the top. So it did end up steaming because normally your pancakes let steam off. So when you go to wash your dishes, go down to your creek if you have one. Hopefully you do. You're smart enough to go by a creek. Get some of the sand in your pot. Scrub it. And you'll get all that stuff off. And even this is where the pan that I burnt it in. And all of that ended up coming off. And then you rinse it out. Rinse all the sand out. And then you let it dry in the sun. And remember, you're going to be cooking in it again. So this is where he's telling me that I burnt his pan. And I was like, sorry. But you got bread and it was manum-manums. So just making sure that everything's clean and out and good. And just rinse it really well. And that's how all the dishes are washed. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Now go play.